Hi everyone, I hope you're doing okay tonight. Like I said in the first part of my announcement, this is typically a topic that students struggle with. I've gotten several emails about it, and it is dividing polynomials. And it's typically when we take a trinomial and we then divide by a binomial. So I want us to think about something that we probably did late elementary school and early middle school, and that's long division. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, no, Alicia, not long division. But if we can remember those principles that we used in long division, then we can apply those principles to what we're going to use when we're dividing polynomials. So what I want you to do now is I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to think about this problem right in front of us. You are taking the larger number, 563, and you are dividing that number by 9. Okay? So I want you to think about how you would do that. What would you do? And I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. So just grab a piece of scratch paper and just do that with long division. Okay, and it's okay if you're a little bit lost. I can help you remember, but just kind of think about how you would do this for about 10 more seconds. Okay, here we go. So, hopefully you remembered some of the things and some of the principles on how to do this. The first thing that you would ask yourself when you're doing long division is you would say, okay, how many times does 9 go into 56? So 9 times what gives us a number around 56? And hopefully you got to 9 times 6 is 54. So we put that 6 right above the tens place because we're asking ourselves how many times does 9 go into 56. So then we take the 6 times 9, which is 54, and then we subtract. When we subtract, we say 6 minus 4 is 2, and then we bring down this 3. Okay? So one of the things that I want you to remember is that we subtract here. In the long division process, we're subtracting right there. Okay, now we ask ourselves, how many times does 9 go into 23? And the answer to that is 2. 2 times 9 is 18. And again, we subtract. 23 minus 18 is 5. So the answer to this question is that 9 goes into 563 62 times with a remainder of 5. Okay? Those of you that are majoring in early childhood education, this will be a skill that you teach around 4th or 5th grade. So think about how you're going to present that to your students. Once you hit 6th or 7th grade, you are taught that your answer is 62, and then you put your remainder in the numerator of a fraction, and then you put what you're dividing by as the denominator. So the number on top right here, whoops, that's kind of a funny looking arrow. This is your remainder, and the number 9, we get that because that's the number that we are dividing by. That's the 9, the number we are dividing by. So now that we've thought about how we do this, I want us to apply that to our polynomial division. So one of the problems on your homework probably looks something like this. 5x squared plus 6x minus 8 divided by x plus 2. So I want us to remember some of the things from long division, and that's the same thing that we're going to kind of do here. So this larger number, and if you remember from last week, that's a trinomial. we are going to put that inside the box. So we have 5x squared plus 6x minus 8. Our x plus 2 is what we are dividing by, and so we are going to put that on the outside of the box. Now, just like in our long division, we asked ourselves, how many times does 9 go into 56? That same principle we're going to use here, but we're going to ask it in a slightly different way. What the question that we are asking ourselves, what do I multiply x by to get 5x squared? Okay, so I am taking this x right here, and I am deciding what do I multiply it by to get 5x squared. And hopefully what you're thinking about is you would multiply x times 5x to get 5x squared. And I am going to place that 5x right over my linear, and linear means it's raised to the first power, my linear term in this polynomial. That is the same thing as me placing the 6 over my tens digit here. So if you notice, I placed this 6 here over this 6 because they were both in the tens place. So here I placed that 5x over my 6x because they are both in the linear. They're both have an exponent raised to the first power. So now we do 5x times 2, and 5x times 2 is 10x, and 5x times x is 5x squared. So if you remember, when we were doing our long division right here where my red arrow is, we subtracted. Now this is what I like to call a mistake alert, okay? A mistake alert. This is an area that students typically make mistakes. If you're going to make a mistake in this problem, this is where it happens. You have to subtract here. Now we are so used to combining our terms that when we are doing long division with our polynomials, we forget that we have to subtract here. So that is one of the things that I want you to be on the lookout. So we are subtracting here. So 5x squared and negative 5x, that gives us 0. Those cancel out. That's what you want to happen. 6x and negative 10x, that is negative 4x minus 8. Now we're going to ask ourselves again, we're going to ask ourselves a question. What do I multiply x by? And this time I want to get negative 4x. So what do I multiply x by to get negative 4x? And the answer to that is I multiply by negative 4. Okay? So, and negative 4 is a constant, so I put it directly over my negative 8, which is also the constant in my polynomial. So now I'm going to multiply. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Now again, thinking about our mistake, the area where we might make a mistake, remember we are subtracting. So we are subtracting negative 4x minus 8 from negative 4x minus 8. And when we subtract a negative, that gets changed to a positive. And don't forget that you have to do that for both of the terms in there. And then negative 4x and 4x cancel, and we're left with 0, which is exactly what we want. And then we have negative 8 and positive 8. That also gives us 0. So in this situation right here, we are left with a remainder of 0. We don't have a remainder here. So my final answer to this problem is 5x minus 4. This is my final answer right here. Okay? Now, in our long division problem that I started with, we had a remainder. So I want us to do one more problem that does have a remainder, because we can have remainders here just like we do in anything else, in any of our long division problems that we've done. So let's look at this. 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. That is what's going to go in the box. 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. And outside the box, what we're dividing by is x minus 5. Okay? So the question that we are going to ask ourselves is, what do I multiply x by to get 2x squared? Okay? And the answer to that is 2x. Okay, so I'm going to put my 2x above my linear term. I say 2x times negative 5 is negative 10x. 2x times x is 2x squared. Okay, and remember, here's our mistake alert. This is a place that we often make mistakes. We are subtracting. Okay, so when we subtract, we make both of those signs their opposite. And so since my 10x was negative, I turned it into a positive. So now I'm left with negative 3x and positive 10x. So I get positive 7x. My 2x squared and my negative 2x squared cancel. So I'm left with 7x here, so I bring down my 1. And I ask myself, what times x is 7x? And the answer to that is plus 7. So now I say 7 times negative 5 is negative 35. 7 times x is 7x. And again, we go back to our mistake alert. We've got to subtract. And when we subtract a negative, that becomes a positive. 1 plus 35 is 36. Our 7x and negative 7x cancel. So I have a remainder in this one of 36. So it's okay to go back and say 2x plus 7, remainder 36. But I want us to think for just a second. And now we're going to look back at that original problem that we did that was long division. So I want you to look here. Look what we did with this remainder here. So we've got our 5. We put that in the numerator. Numerator means top. And then my denominator is what we are dividing by. So I went back and I got my 9 that I was dividing by, and I put that in the denominator. And this 62 is my answer. So we are going to use this principle right here, and we are going to apply it here. So my answer when I started dividing was 2x plus 7. That's what I got, that it went into my polynomial, my larger polynomial, which is 2x squared minus 3x plus 7. I had a remainder, and that remainder is going to go in my numerator. Okay? That's the top part of my fraction. The bottom part of my fraction is what I'm dividing by, and that's this x minus 5. X minus 5. Okay? So my final answer to this one is the 2x plus 7 plus 36 over x minus 5. Okay? Okay. Okay, now I just want to take a couple minutes and I just want to remind you about some things that you can do to be successful in this class. The first thing, and I know you hear me say this all the time, remember, try to do math every day. Math builds. What we do in week 1 is going to apply to what we do in week 2. So try to do a little bit of your math homework every day. Do some of your math homework every day. Look at your assignment early in the week. When you first look at your assignment, then you can start thinking about it. It does sometimes take multiple times looking at it in order to get it. Okay? Be sure that you're doing that. If you get stuck, send me a picture of the work that you've already done. Then I can help you see where your mistake might be. I can write on it. I can circle. I can say, hey, this is where you made a mistake with your positive or negative sign. Okay? And the next thing, always email me. Don't hesitate. I am here to answer your questions. And remember, you are not alone. Students sometimes struggle with the algebra in the class, and that's okay. And that's totally okay. Remember, we're going to get t-shirts that say, I survived college algebra. So hang in there. You can do this. And don't hesitate to email me. You're not alone, and you don't have to try to make it alone. There are lots of other people that are feeling the way that you are, and we can get through it. The number one indicator of success, grit. It's about how hard you work, and I promise you can make it through this class. Okay, keep working and let me know if you have anything else that you need help with.